Well, good morning. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living St. George. My name is Reverend Laura Howlett, and it is my pleasure to welcome you here to our center. We are an open, loving, inclusive community that sees the divine expression of God that you are, and we honor you for the unique way it shows up. So if this is your first time here, we're so delighted to have you. We have information? I don't think we have any welcome packets. Okay, come and see one of us afterwards. I don't see the welcome packets over there, so we'll get those together for you. But check out, stop and talk to one of us, and we'll give you a little more information about our center. We're happy to have you here and joining us on this beautiful day. So we're going to start off like we normally do with some music here. We've got Cheryl and Cody today. I found the divine in you. I feel your light, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, namaste. I bow to the joy in you. I feel your bliss, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, namaste. I bow to the love in you. I feel your heart, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, namaste. I bow to the truth in you. I feel your spark, see it shining through. I am grateful you are here today. Good morning, friend, namaste. Good morning, all. Namaste. Welcome, everybody. Hi. Just take a moment. Shake a hand. Give a hug. Meet a friend. Meet a new person. I'll bring you back in a few moments.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm Becky. I'm Dan. Nice to meet you. And I'm Joy. Joy? Hi, I'm just because I'm used to here.
Love your hair. And Joy. Joy.
Good morning, I'm Butch. Nice to meet you.
I am Gwen. Yes, it's good to see you again, too.
Yes, I have. Yeah. We're from the Lakewood Church. I'm Michelle. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, Grace. I'm Michelle. Right.
What are you doing? Turned it around.
prepare for our invocation, take a moment, please, if you would, and check your cell phones, make sure they're turned into a silent mode so that we don't have a little ringing during the service. Cheryl and Cody are going to sing us into the invocation, which is going to be given today by our practitioner, Anita Chef.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love.
Just breathing in this beautiful day. What a joy to see the beautiful faces of God all around me. The human faces, the animal faces, the plant faces. And that I can't see, the perfect environment, the air itself, all of this is God. For I know that God is the one presence that shows up in infinite ways. So much diversity, so much beauty and perfection. I know that God is the power that works through that infinite field of possibility, bringing all things into form and condition. And it is good. And I know that God is the source and sustainer of my life and the life of each person here, each person who hears my voice this morning. And so as we come together, I know that we come as one mind and one heart to share our joy, to share our diversity, and to just celebrate our inclusion in the family of God. And I give great thanks that this life is what it is, full of diversity and all included. I give thanks today for all of the volunteers that come to assist with this service, for the musicians, for Reverend Laura, for friends and visitors, everyone who participates in any way in this service. I am so grateful. We make the world a better place by joining in thought, joining our love. And so as we move forward, I just let this be, knowing that life is so very good. And so it is.
And so it is.
Like to affirm these words with us, they will be on the board behind me.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
Sing that again, the
Face of God, I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Face of love. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God.
When Bob Dylan wrote the song Blowin' in the Wind, a lot of people asked him, they wanted to know what it meant, and he was very cryptic. And he would say things like, well, it's in the air, man, it's not in a book, it's not in a newspaper. And he certainly didn't believe it was in, government or politics where he held center stage. And when we were choosing this song and we think about how the answer is blowing in the wind, we think about divine consciousness and how we're all connected and how being part of the one gives us the insight and the knowledge to do what's right, which is a lot of what this song talks about as we look at diversity and inclusiveness. And Cody's going to read today.
How many roads must a man walk down? It's actually not the right melody. I'm telling you what it's like. There it is.
You're not old enough.
How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? How many times must a cannonball fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it's washed to the sea? It's how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head pretending he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. It's how many times must a man look up before he sees the sky? How many times must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, how many deaths will it take till he knows too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
I'm sitting over there getting chills listening to you guys sing. This is amazing. I was just all over my arms. I was like, I leaned in Anita, I said, oh my God, I'm covered with chills. This is fabulous. What an exciting thing. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Such a beautiful thing. So we are talking about diversity and inclusion this month. This year's themes are based on what's called the 10 prophetic justice principles. And the third principle of this is that we create a society that reduces the amount of polarization and fragmentation that is felt between different groups based on things like their race, their religion, their ethnicity, their country of origin, their gender, their sexual orientation, their socioeconomic status, all of these things that we've used historically to separate people, to divide people up. The goal for this is to reduce that amount of fragmentation that people are feeling because of this division that we feel sometimes in our society. You know, our overriding vision for Centers for Spiritual Living is to create a world that works for everyone. And the world doesn't work for everyone if some people are less than and some people are more than. The world doesn't work for everyone if some people are judged based on characteristics they have nothing to do with, nothing that they can control. The world doesn't work for everyone if we judge people on whether they are an immigrant or a nationalized citizen. The world doesn't work if we judge people on whether they are Canadian or whether they are American. The world doesn't work for everyone if we are sitting in judgment of people. And so this month is all about looking at how we can heal that division that exists right now in our culture, in our society. And worldwide it exists. It's not just isolated to America. So we are working towards that idea of this world that works for everyone in all of creation. So as I would, since moving up here to St. George, it's like almost every day I find something that delights me, something that is new and surprising to me that I didn't know I was going to find here. Honestly, after living in Las Vegas for 42 years, I thought I was moving to another desert. Quite honestly, that was it. You know, it's a high desert, a higher desert, and it's a prettier desert, but it's another desert. So I have a morning practice of sitting in meditation. So I sit in my living room and I have this beautiful picture window that I'm up by on a hill above the police station, so I look out over the whole valley. So I've got this beautiful view up there. And so I sit there in meditation each morning, as my spiritual practice. Well, the past week, I have had an amazing visitor come and see me. The picture's not terribly clear because I took it through my window. Now, this may not excite you as much as it does me, because I've lived in Las Vegas for 42 years. And in Las Vegas, we have blackbirds, brown birds, and gray birds. That is it. Well, occasionally you might see a hummingbird with a little iridescent color on its chest, but very rare. So this little guy has been visiting me for this past week. I looked it up. It's a Bullock's Oriole. A Bullock's Oriole. Now, this absolutely delights me. Having been in this, I grew up mostly in the Midwest. My father was in the Air Force, so we traveled around a lot. I lived in Panama where we had parrots. They were very bright and colorful. I lived in England where there were all kinds of birds, but mostly I lived in the Midwest. And in my backyard I had cardinals, robins, blue jays, and orioles, and all different other kinds of birds that would visit all the time. And so to see something like this come back, I'm not kidding you, I can't tell you how excited it has made me to see this. I've sent this picture to about everybody I know in Las Vegas. Look at what I get to watch every morning. So, that got me thinking about this. There are between 18,000 and 20,000 species of birds in the world. But 20 years ago, there was only between 9,000 and 10,000 species of birds. So in the past 4 decades, we have the population of birds has not only is it large, it is almost doubled the number of species of birds that scientists have identified. Which led me to think that, not only do we live in a very diverse world, but our world is constantly becoming more and more diverse. We constantly are expanding and so forth. When I started looking about this, what are the kind of things we have? I just pulled out some statistics yesterday. There are over 60,000 different kinds of trees in the world. There are over 600,000 different plants, including the trees. And there is 1.2 million different animals. I didn't add this on there, but there's 2.7 million different insects in the world. How can I think that I live in a world created by a divine creator that would think there's only one type of thing to be that's right? How can I live in a world that would only say that Orioles are the only one kind of bird to have? Why would the creator make 20,000 different species of birds if there was only one that was the right one? Why would we have so many different species of plants and trees and animals if there was only one kind to be? And so how arrogant it would be of me as a human being to think that there's only one way to be a human being. How could I possibly do that? That would be dishonoring that creator. That creator that in its infinite wisdom made an infinite variety of beings. And that continually, consistently makes an infinite variety of beings. I think I've told this before, but one of my favorite scenes from a movie is in the movie Robin Hood by Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner stars in it with Morgan Freeman. And so in this scene, they're in Sherwood Forest, and the merry men are being merry. They're drinking and partaking of alcohol, which Morgan Freeman, as a Muslim man, does not drink. And so Morgan Freeman's sitting off under a tree by himself. And this little English girl, about 3 or 4 years old, walks up to him and says, "Why did God paint you black?" And Morgan Freeman smiles at her and says, "Because Allah loves wondrous diversity." Our Creator brought us forth because it loves to bring forth wondrous diversity. So why would it bring forth only one that was right? You know, right now we're reading the book Blind Spots, Hidden Biases That Good People Have. And in this book, it talks about how we as prehistoric people were naturally drawn to live in homogeneous groups. We were drawn to people who were like us. And historically, that's what we've lived in. We've lived in groups of people that were just like us. And we're now entering into this global society where we are interacting with people who aren't like us. And that naturally causes some kind of tension between people. That homogeneous group was designed for our protection, our safety. Our very survival depended upon being around people who were like us, who could care for us. We couldn't survive as a species without that. And so, unfortunately, some of us have taken that to mean that's the only way to be, is to live in these groups. But we don't have those same kind of limitations that we did when we were prehistoric. We don't have as many fears and so forth as we did when we were prehistoric. And so now it's time to transcend those boundaries of this homogeneous environment that we created genetically, behaviorally, historically. It was part of our very essence, our very being, to live in groups that were like us. But again, we go back to that creator. Why are we here? This is one of my favorite quotes from Rumi. We exist for the delight of God. We exist for the delight of God. God loves wondrous diversity. It is evident in everything that we do, everything that we see, everything that we are, is this wondrous diversity. So why would we have the necessity to stay isolated instead of branching out and expressing and embracing that diversity? You all know of instances where this exclusionary kind of behavior has caused problems. It's caused problems in our society. It's causing problems in our society now. It's often based on fear of the unknown, the fear of the difference, the fear of our way of life being threatened because of the differences that are showing up. Ernest Holmes says that everything in the universe is a unique individualization or expression of the one thing that is the cause of all things. Everything in the universe is a unique individualization or expression of the one thing that is the cause of all things. No two blades of grass are alike, no two grains of sand, no two thumbprints. No two anything are alike, and nothing ever exactly reproduces any other thing. God purposely, thoughtfully, deliberately created diversity. And diversity exists for the delight of God. Ernest goes on to say, there is one spirit incarnated in everyone, an immortal presence forever expanding everything, causing everything to grow. The number of birds that we have in the world. What a difference it would make in our human relations if we tried to sense the meaning of this divine incarnation in all people and adjust our viewpoints to the truth that we are all bound together in the unity of God. How do we do that? How do we begin to do that in a practical way? I think, especially people that are drawn to a center like this, we have big hearts. We are very loving people. We want the best for everyone. We want to see that every being worldwide, every being that exists today, prospers. We're the kind of people that they call cultural creatives. And cultural creatives are all about making this a better world. They're all about the environment and how we interact with the environment, how we are socially responsible to the environment. They're all about social justice. They're about seeing that everyone is treated fairly and that everyone receives the same opportunities. That's who is attracted to Centers for Spiritual Living, the type of people that we are here. We all have varying degrees of this, and we experience it in different ways. And I think I've said this before to you, but I used to have a real big problem being around homeless people, even in my car. I would drive up and there'd be somebody panhandling at the corner, and I'd get really nervous inside, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I can't just keep giving people money. I don't want to enable them. Sometimes I didn't have the money, just depending on what the situation was, but I didn't want to keep doing that. And so I would look away. I'd turn my head from them. I'd pretend they weren't there. And it felt really bad inside of me. And so when I was in practitioner training, I thought, I need to work on this. I need to work through this and solve this. And so it's very interesting that the song that Cheryl chose for the invocation today, because that's the song that I used to get myself through this. And so what I began to do was to actually look the person in the eye. And in my head, I would sing, "You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God." And I would smile. And I'd go about my business. And it relieved that inner turmoil inside of me. I didn't have to do anything else outwardly. I didn't have to interact with them in any other way. But it relieved that inside of myself. When I can look at somebody else and see the sameness within them, even if they have different skin color, even if they're a different gender, even if they dress in a different way, even if they practice religion differently, if I can look at them and I can see that face of God within them, and know that that very same face of God is within me, then I'm creating a space for that world that works for everyone. Because in that very moment, it's working for me and it's working for them. And all of our work, every single bit of our work, has to be done in consciousness first. We have to do the work within ourselves before we can do anything to help the world. If we haven't healed those parts of ourselves that are in turmoil because of this polarization that we feel in our world, it's the us and thems. If we don't heal it because of the fragmentation, societies that are shunted aside, thought of as less than, or criminal, or bad neighborhoods that we don't want to live in. As long as we keep those ideas in our mind, then we are not creating that world that works for everyone. And there's something within ourselves that needs to be healed and looked at and healed. And it's through our spiritual practices. You know, that's one of our best gifts that we have to this world. Science of mind, spiritual practices, and principles. Principles that are founded on universal truths. Principles that transcend religion, that transcend time. We're taking the Roots class right now, From Whence We Came, and looking at how this philosophy developed historically. And the first thing we begin to look with are the ancients. The ancient philosophers, the ancient thought. We begin to look at that. Our philosophy is, sometimes it's called New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, because it's based on this ancient wisdom, this truth, these universal spiritual truths that have existed throughout time and transcend all religions. You can look at all religions and you can find several different threads of truth that move through them. One of those is God is love. That there's only one God, one creator, one power, and one presence in the universe. Those are universal truths that transcend religion. The idea that God is immortal, everlasting, and eternal, transcends all religions. There's the idea of how we should interact with each other. In Christianity, we call it the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. That very same rule is in every religion. I have a sheet of about 15 of them where it's actually written in that religion. These rules transcend all religion. We don't have to separate because of them. And then we have these amazing spiritual practices that allow us to actually take a deeper, closer look at ourselves, our belief systems, find out where those beliefs are coming from, and then do work around healing that. Oftentimes we call these hidden beliefs or limiting beliefs. Ernest Holmes called it race consciousness. These are ideas that transcend our generational. They are things that we're not always aware are operating in our lives. They are the things that actually begin to fragment us from other people. They can be simple, easy ones that really don't affect anybody other than us, and they can be ones that are very harmful to lots of people. The us and them, the idea that generalizations that we make about a specific race. Recently, well, in the last couple of years, we've heard our president say that all of these people were murderers and rapists. That's a race-conscious generalization when he spoke of the immigrants coming into the country. He probably isn't even sure where that comes from and operating in his life. But those are race consciousness. Those are generalizations we make about a specific group, about a specific type of people, based on whatever experiences we've had in our lives. And these race consciousness ideas are operating within us all the time. And so our job through our spiritual practice is to begin to uncover those. And then to begin to look at what the truth is back of that. Anything that starts with everybody in this particular group, all these, whatever these are, do this, is a race consciousness idea. It's a generalization that you somehow internalized. And so as we begin to heal those things, then we actually do begin to create that world that works for everyone and all of creation. And that's our ultimate goal here. I think for each one of us individually, what a beautiful idea that is. Because I begin by creating a world that works for me. A world that works for me that doesn't harm anybody else. A world that works for me, and it is also beneficial to everyone else I encounter. And that's how we begin to heal these kind of separations and these divisions that we have in our world. It's a deep spiritual practice. It is very much a high calling. It's not for the weak. So I invite you to consider taking that journey, looking at and finding those places within ourselves where we are thinking us and them, in whatever situation that might be. if I find myself saying, well, they always do this, that's something I need to look at. That's something I need to heal within myself. All right, we're going to take this into prayer. Invite our beautiful musicians back up here again with us. And so I just invite you to turn within. I do this by closing my eyes and taking a deep breath. And finding that place within myself that I call my heart center. For there is a place of peace, a place of connection, and a place of divine knowing. And it resides right in the center of my being. And it is from this place that I know that there is only one. One life, one love, one power, and one creator. And though it goes by many names and shows up in many forms, I simply know it as God. And I know that God is all there is. That nothing exists outside of this one. God was there in the beginning, before ever the world began. God exists today and tomorrow, onward and onward into infinity. For this continuity of life is the truth of all being. And so because I know there is only one, I know that I am one with it. That this power and this presence is manifesting itself in me as an individualized expression of it, right here and right now. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for each person here. And for each person within the sound of my voice. For each person that has ever existed and is yet to be. But this is the truth of all life. That we are one with that divine creator. That manifestation of God, doing the work of it right here and right now. And so I speak my word knowing this truth. That life is this continuous unfoldment, ever expanding consciousness. And that consciousness is moving through me, as me, in all that I am and all that I do. I know that this beautiful expression of life shows up in wondrous diversity. And I know that we do exist for the delight of God. And the delight of God is so evident in all of our surroundings, in the beautiful flowers, the birds in the sky, and the amazing, diverse faces of the people that we greet. I know this is the truth, and that life can be no other way. I give thanks for this knowing. I'm so grateful to feel this power and presence, and I'm so grateful to see it operating throughout all of life. And I release this word into the law, into that creative mind, that divine power that always says yes. I let it be, and I let it go. And so it is.
So it is.
Amen.
I am alive, I am alive, I am alive in this world. I am alive, I am alive, I am alive in this world. And I shine
I shine so bright, and I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright.
Beautiful. Okay, so now is the time in our service when we share our offering, our conscious contribution to the unfoldment of our vision and mission here at Centers for Spiritual Living. And so I ask you, as you prepare your gift, to give it a silent blessing. You may choose to hold this over your heart, and in whatever manner works for you, just give it a silent blessing. And if you would repeat after me, please. Today I consciously choose to give.
Today I consciously choose to give.
And I joyfully receive.
And I joyfully receive
All of the wonderful diversity that God has to offer.
all the wonderful diversity that God has to offer.
I know that my supply is infinite and everlasting.
I
I know my supply is infinite and everlasting,
And I am so grateful for it.
and I am so grateful for it.
And so it is.
And so it is.
all good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All love. All love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is well, holy, holy.
Oh, and so we just simply bless this offering. We joyfully receive it. We joyfully share it. I know that everything that we received here today not only blesses our center, but it blesses our entire community. But the gifts that we have to offer go forth from us and do amazing and miraculous things for everyone it touches. And so it is.
And so it is.
All one, holy, holy. All one, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is one, holy, holy. All in my mind. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is one, holy, holy.
Are they phenomenal today? Yes. And every day. But today too. All right, we have a few announcements. First off, I've decided to change the Sunday bulletin because I've been spending every Sunday throwing away 45 of them. So I'm making one for the month. So the announcements for the month are on there. If you choose to take it home with you so that you have the reminders at home, great. You're welcome to take one with you. If not, would you put it on the table when you leave so that we can use them again? Because I don't know about you, but I can't stand throwing all that paper away. Yeah. It's not an effort. It's in an effort to just help our environment more than anything else. So the little yellow bulletin that you got.
Yes.
I mean, I know we like to have the bulletins, but it's like, oh, I don't want to waste it. So anyway, so I came across a video a couple of months ago that I thought would be excellent to show during this month of talking about inclusivity and diversity. I don't know about you guys, but the first time anybody ever told me that I had white privilege, my hackles got up like you wouldn't believe. How dare somebody say that I've lived a privileged life? They don't know what my experiences were. And so it took me a long time of working through that idea to really understand what white privilege is. And I came across this video by Dr. Robin DiAngelo, and she goes through it. She calls it Deconstructing White Privilege, and it's a fabulous video. It's 25 minutes long, and so I'm going to show it after service next Sunday, and then we'll have a discussion around it. Anybody that's interested in talking through that, because I think this is a vital conversation that we need to have in our society. Because when words like that are thrown out, it seems to do more of separating us than it does bringing us together. And so if we look at those ideas and actually begin to, as it says up here, deconstruct it, then we can get a better understanding of that and actually see that how our race consciousness and our history has contributed to the segregation of people. It's the us and the them. That's that fragmentation and polarization I was talking about. And so this is a fabulous little video. You're welcome to stay after service next Sunday. Like I said, it's about a 25-minute video, and then we'll do about an hour discussion, or however long it takes. I'm open to staying here. But I think it's a vital conversation that we need to begin to have. And so if you have any friends that you think might be interested in it, please bring them. If they don't want to come to service, they can come afterwards. So invite anybody that you'd like to, because I think for our entire community, it's a valuable thing to begin to do. Our new chair campaign is going strong. We have funded over 20% of our chairs already. Very excited about that. If you are interested in sponsoring a chair, there's a pink sheet of paper on the back table over there for you to put in your name and how many you'd like to sponsor. If you don't want to sponsor a whole one, just put in there the amount of money and your name, just so we get credit for you on there. So or if you want to donate it anonymously, that's okay too. We're good with that. We've gotten a couple community partners that have also donated some money to us to help us get new chairs here, so we're excited about that. We have a couple workshops coming up. Sue is, there she is. Sue is doing her personal guidance card workshop again. If you've taken it before from her, then she's only charging you $15 for it. If you haven't, if you're new at it, it's a $20 investment. I can't wait to do it. I've worked through some of this stuff with what they call soul cards, where you take something and you know, how many of you have ever bought one of those decks of cards where you draw it daily and you get a different thing? Well, how much more powerful would it be if it's personally for you? If it's something that you've created, that you've worked through, that it's an issue that you're dealing with, and then you pull the card that's personal for you. And so creating these personal guidance cards, she'll take us through that process. Next, the last Sunday in April, from 2 to 5 here in the sanctuary. So Sue will be in the bookstore afterwards if you want to ask her any questions about that. And then practitioner Kelly Capsar is going to be doing a labyrinth workshop out here. Kelly has spent, I don't know, at least the 10 years I've known her working with labyrinths. She spent, I think, 2 years walking it every week. So she's got a great deal of information about that. You're going to be able to work with your own finger labyrinth that she's going to make for you, and you'll be able to take that with you. That's part of the cost for it, is the supplies to make the finger labyrinths. And then she'll take you through a little bit of the history and a variety of uses that you can do with labyrinths. So, you can have the finger ones that you do, when it's raining, and you have the beautiful ones out here where you can go walking if you want to. After the workshop, she's going to invite people to go out to the labyrinth in Kayenta and walk that one. And so you won't have to do that one if you don't want to, but after the workshop is concluded. I put on there till 4 because I'm not really sure if that's the whole time, so you may be done here at 3 and go out to the labyrinth. I'm not real sure how that whole thing works, but anyway, that's at the last Sunday of the month. Preceding that, we're going to be having a potluck. So if people want to stay for the workshop, they've got food available to them. So we'll be doing a potluck. We'll put up a sign-up sheet next week, so you can sign up to bring your favorite dish for that. Chris is offering a new class. This is based on the work of Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote the 4 agreements, and then the 5th agreement after that. And this is the 5 levels of attachment based on the work of the 5 agreements. And it's a new class, never been taught here before. He'll be teaching it in May on Tuesdays. There's a sign-up sheet in the back if you're interested in that. I also have a place on there for you to check if you'd like us to order the book for you. This is the book that goes along with this, the 5 attachments, 5 levels of attachment. We have our Science of Mind discussion group led by Chris McCardle and Gwen Hadley, where Gwen went. It's really thrived. There she is. It's been a thriving group, and I I've listened in on a couple of things there, and they're really getting into some great discussions. They like to call it, what did she say? And they talk about what I talked about today. But and they also bring in the Science of Mind magazine, the article that's pertinent for that day. So it's a great discussion if you want to know more about our principles and the practices we have here in the Science of Mind. Our book of the month, as I mentioned earlier, is Blind Spots, Hidden Biases Good People Have. It's a phenomenal book, based on the work of two scientists from Harvard University, working with diversity. And one of those things, those race consciousness ideas that we have that we're not aware of, that's what they're calling blind spots. And so we're working through that right now. We had 6 people in the discussion group last week, so it's fabulous. It meets on Wednesdays at 2:30 to 4. And then my office hours, the sign-up sheets in the back if you'd like to come visit me. I love having you stop by and talk. After service, check out our bookstore. We've got some great things happening in there with Sue. And Anita is available for prayer in the prayer room right here if you want to get a personal prayer with her. And I know we have goodies for that. I was eating some of them before service. So, hope you stay for a little bit of fellowship. All right, let's do a closing affirmation here. All right, have you guys just stay in your seats? We're going to do a different one today. This is one of my favorite ones. This is by Ernest Holmes. And so if you would just repeat after me. There is only one life.
There is only one life.
That life is my life.
That life is my life.
That life is perfect.
That life is perfect.
And that life is God's life. Right
And
now.
that life is God's life.
And so it is.
And so it is.
It's a new day today, it's a new life, my way. The doubts there are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. The past is gone. The past is gone and has no power here. Out of mighty forces, spirit's atmosphere. So I choose to grow, yes, I choose to thrive. This longing will not be denied. It's a new day, today it's a new life, my way. The doubts, they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. Right here, right now, I claim that I am whole. There is nothing else that I need to know. So I affirm my worth, yes, I'm deserving of God's goodness abounding in love. It's a new day, today it's a new life, my way. The doubts, they are no match for me. I'll take my faith and fly because I know that I am creating my own destiny. As I believe in